What's up guys, Zach Arthur from Shaith Records here, just with a little tip video on what to do before you come into recording. Now this is coming from the perspective of both a recording artist and a recording engineer, because I both record with my band and I also record other bands that will come into the studio. And this is for any band that wants to come into the studio and record anything, or even if it's just at home recording onto your PC or something like that, all the way up to going to $1,000 a day production studios in your nearest capital city. Now, it's a tip video, not more towards like get better at what you're playing at or whatever. It's more just something to do beforehand so that you're prepared and you'll get the best sound that you possibly could. And I suggest that you tell your friends or whatever, your band members, to watch this video just as more of an insightful thing, so that they know what they'll need to do before they go into recording, because no one wants a bad sounding recording. Let's be honest, you're paying hundreds of dollars to go into a studio to get your stuff recorded, and then you end up not knowing all this stuff, and then you'll go in there, it'll sound worse than what it should, and you'll be kicking yourselves later. But anyways, let's get down to it. So the first thing that I would suggest is, if you're a guitarist, cellist, violinist, whatever you'd call them, get new strings and get them properly tensioned, get the right, get your truss rods adjusted and all that sort of stuff, so that you have the perfect guitar. I'm not saying buy a brand new Gibson or whatever. I'm not saying go and buy a new guitar at all. What I'm saying is that if you buy new strings, get them properly tuned and tensioned and all that sort of jazz, you will have the best result when it comes to recording your guitar in terms of tonal quality, and basically your guitars will sound 10 times as better than if you had 6-month-old strings that you've been slapping around for every band practice that you've ever been to. It'll just make it sound 10 times better. So, as I said, that comes with any strings. Bass strings in particular, because the older they get really sloppy, the fret buzz becomes just horrible. You slap your E string and you'll have it's not a good thing, especially if you're trying to record it. And yeah, so that's easy said and done. You go to your local music store and you buy $20 worth of strings that'll save you another $200 recording down the track, because you thought that the guitar track sounded absolutely horrible. Second of all, is if you're recording live drums or any kind of percussion, you'll want to get new skins. So same deal as the guitars, except when it comes to drums, it's horrible. I'm a drummer myself, and knowing that how quickly skins deteriorate and how they sound when they haven't been kept properly, when they've been in and out of gig venues and all that sort of jazz, and they've just been hit so much that it's unimaginable how bad that you'd think that these drum skins would sound. If you go and buy new skins, you get them properly tensioned and seated properly on your shells, you will not believe how good that they can sound on a recording, compared to year-old skins that you thought, nah, it's all good, it's got a couple of dents in it, doesn't matter. Because it does matter, and it will sound 3 billion times better when you're recording all that sort of stuff. Thirdly, for your vocalists, when you're coming into recording, I severely suggest that you warm up. If you don't warm up during your practices or during your live gigs or whatever, odds are that you're probably straining your voice, you're not getting your best vocal range that you possibly could, even if you're not singing that hard. Also, that potentially down the track you're going to end up hurting your vocal cords from not warming up and all that sort of stuff. It might seem a bit tedious, but it also comes into the recording aspect, because if you get pitchy on a vocal recording, you're going to end up singing the same lines over and over and over again, and you're not going to be able to get the perfect take that you're looking for. That'll be the, oh my gosh, this is the best vocal track I've ever heard, because it won't, because you're too pitchy. There is only so much that auto-tune can do for a vocalist. But warming up, even though it seems so tedious, is the number one thing that I can suggest to any vocalist that comes in to any studio. If you don't warm up, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. Fourth, and finally, the last thing that I suggest is that your band or ensemble or whatever is tight. Like, I'm serious. I've had bands come in to me before that they haven't been together for long, or they just haven't had time for band practices, and they thought, yeah, let's go and get a song up on Facebook, we'll get heap of likes and all that sort of stuff. And it's turned out that they haven't had very many band practices, they don't know each other well enough to be able to integrate all the different styles into their sound, and it doesn't sound very good. So I suggest you have lots of band practices beforehand, or even a practice before the day or on the day that you're going to record, and you just practice your stuff. There's nothing worse than coming into a studio and having to go to the recording engineer, sorry, but we can't do this, we don't know the song. It's not a good way to go. You'll lose your reputation with that engineer, and they might not even want to record you again, and you've just forfeited like 8 hours of work for that engineer, so you have to pay $200 for absolutely nothing. It's stupid, and honestly, it's worth your time to practice, get your stuff down right, and then you'll be all set and done for the recording. So all in all, if you take all these tips into account and just keep your gear as well looked after as possible, you'll end up with an awesome recording, and you'll end up with your money's worth. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want to be able to walk out of the studio and go, alright, well, that's what I wanted. I've got a good sounding recording that I can show off to people, and people will like it because it sounds good and I've contributed to it. So, all in all, that's all from me. Just remember all those things. Keep your stringed instruments, strings, fresh, nicely tuned. Get your drums tuned. Any kind of vocals, make sure you warm up beforehand, and all that sort of stuff. That's all from me. This has been Zach Arthur from Shaith Records. Have an awesome day.